The silence of the jungle night was broken only by the distant roar of a tiger and the whisper of the wind through towering trees. In the heart of that darkness, a baby cried. Abandoned, lost, defenseless. But the jungle is not only death. The jungle is also a mother. And that night, a wolf pack found the child and chose to raise him as one of their own. Fed by the she-wolf's milk, protected by the warmth of the pack, the boy grew learning the secrets of the forest. While other children learned words, he learned the language of glances, of roars, of silent movements. Every step was a lesson in survival. Every starry night, a teaching of courage. In that moment, a legend was born, a human shaped by the jungle, son of the forest, brother of animals. The boy men had forgotten, but the jungle would never let die. The years passed, and the boy became a young man, strong, agile as a panther, and fearless as the wolf that raised him. To him, the jungle was home, and the animals his family. But everything changed the day he heard different voices, human voices. By the edge of an old bridge, British soldiers and young colonial women painted the landscape, unaware that wild eyes were watching them. He drew closer, curious, fascinated by the shine of their clothes, by the words he could not understand, and most of all, by the gaze of a young woman named Catherine. But the border between worlds was not made of stone, but of fear. To the men, he was just a dangerous intruder, a savage who did not belong. To the jungle, contact with humans meant betrayal. In that moment, the young man discovered something the forest had never taught him. The human heart is wilder than any beast. The bridge groaned under the weight of the wind, old and fragile, like a warning from the jungle itself. On one side, the safety of civilization. On the other, the darkness of the forest many called the jungle of death. It was there that the young man, raised by wolves, dared to cross. His body moved without fear, but his eyes carried a mix of curiosity and defiance. On the other side, soldiers raised their rifles, ready to fire. Catherine, terrified, stepped forward. "He is not an enemy," she cried, as the officers demanded the savage be shot. Silence turned to tension. One wrong move could turn the encounter into tragedy. To the men, he was an intruder. To Catherine, a fascinating mystery. To the jungle, only a son returning home. In that instant, the bridge became more than wood and rope. It was the line dividing two worlds destined to collide. Amidst the tension, with weapons aimed and orders shouted, Catherine dared to step closer. Her eyes met his, wild, yet filled with something no animal possessed: humanity. She saw not just an intruder, but a young man marked by the forest, shaped by hardship, yet with a soul crying for freedom. And he, in turn, saw in her something he had never known: tenderness, beauty, a world different from his own. It was only a look, an instant. But in that instant, a forbidden bond was born, a connection that defied the laws of men and the limits of the jungle. The soldiers, unable to understand, seized him violently. To them, he was a threat. To Catherine, it was the beginning of a destiny that would forever change her life. In that look, there was no fear. There was fate. Dragged by force into the fort, the wild young man was thrown before British officers like a captured animal. Looks of contempt crossed the torchlit room. "Who is he?" asked the colonel, frowning. "An intruder, sir. He trespassed our land, threatened our women," a soldier answered, his voice heavy with accusation. But the savage said nothing. He only stared at them with eyes so intense they unsettled even the bravest. Some saw only a beast without control. Others, like Catherine and Dr. Plumford, saw a living enigma. A boy lost to the jungle who had survived where no man could. "He is dangerous," insisted Captain Boone. "He is different," Catherine replied, fearless. In that improvised tribunal, they weren't just judging a man. They were judging the very border between civilization and nature. And there, for the first time, the wild young man received a name that would echo forever: Mowgli. Placed under Dr. Plumford's supervision, Mowgli was treated not as a prisoner, but as a living experiment. The doctor believed he could reteach him to be human. Hot baths, heavy clothes, strange utensils, everything was new to him. Words stumbled out, but his mind learned quickly. Patiently, Catherine taught him, This is house. This is boat. Animals are friends. Mowgli repeated, hesitant, storing every word like a hidden weapon. Yet every gesture betrayed him. Behind the human voice he tried to mimic lived the wild instinct, the memory of the jungle, a heartbeat in rhythm with the drums of the forest. To the British he became a curious specimen. To Catherine, living proof that the human spirit could cross boundaries. But for Mowgli, each new word was also a wound. The more he learned to speak as a man, and the more he remembered he would always be a son of the jungle. As Mowgli adapted to human ways, the officers saw him differently. To them, he was no longer just curiosity. He was a key. The boy knew the secrets of the forest, paths no map contained, places no explorer had ever reached. One night, over wine and ambition, the subject arose: the lost city of the monkeys, a legendary place hidden deep in the jungle, filled with forgotten treasures. "With this savage we can find it," murmured Captain Boone, greed gleaming in his eyes. But Mowgli answered firmly, "The law of the jungle is not the law of men." "And what's the difference?" the captain sneered. "In the jungle we kill to live. Among men, you kill for gold." In that instant, two truths collided. The law of the forest, built on survival, and the law of men, corrupted by greed. And Mowgli understood. To survive outside the jungle, he would have to fight something fiercer than any tiger: human ambition. As days passed, British greed grew. Catherine listened in silence as officers spoke of walls plated in gold, statues of forgotten gods, and mountains of jewels hidden in the heart of the jungle. Pressed, Mowgli whispered, "There is a city, but it does not belong to men. It was the lost city of the monkeys, a forbidden sanctuary, guarded for centuries by the silence of the jungle. Those who dared enter never returned. To the British, it was promise of glory. To Mowgli, a warning of death. Reluctant, he was manipulated. Soldiers declared it was his duty. Catherine begged for his life, and Captain Boone threatened him with weapons. Mowgli knew human greed would never stop. And when their eyes gleamed at the sight of his mother's bracelet, recovered from the jungle, the decision was made. The path to the lost city would be revealed. What they did not know was that each step led them deeper into a curse. The expedition left at dawn. The group followed Mowgli into the black jungle, every step surrounded by shadows, animal cries, and the heavy breath of the forest. The soldiers marched boldly, but the savage walked in silence, burdened by premonition. Soon the jungle showed its cruel face. Quicksand swallowed a man whole. Serpents fell from trees like arrows. With every mile, the forest claimed a life. But nothing stopped the British. Gold spoke louder than fear. Boone, obsessed, saw no danger, only promises of power. Catherine's heart sank with every step. The journey was not for survival, but for destruction. In the darkness, Mowgli warned, "The jungle does not forgive. The treasure you seek is not wealth, it is death." And as if the forest had heard, the roar of Shere Khan thundered in the distance. The demon tiger had returned, not drawn by gold, but by the scent of human blood. While the jungle devoured men, Catherine clung to Mowgli's presence. Around the fire that night she whispered, "You are not like them." "I am not a man, but I am not a beast either. I am only of the jungle," he replied. She reached for his hand, a forbidden bond, impossible between two worlds. Hidden in the shadows, William Boone watched, consumed by rage. For him, that look was unforgivable betrayal. The march grew darker. Heat suffocated, insects devoured, and fear stalked them with every step. When ruins emerged from the forest, silence fell. The lost city had revealed itself, but so had the jungle's warning, glowing eyes in the dark, and a roar that froze even the bravest. From the shadows, Shere Khan emerged, eyes blazing with fury. For Mowgli, this was not just a beast. It was the enemy that had hunted him since childhood, the embodiment of the jungle's law of strength. "Run!" he shouted, pushing Catherine back. The British fired, but bullets only enraged the tiger. With a monstrous leap, Shere Khan tore through their ranks, spreading death. Boone fell to his knees, terrified. Mowgli faced the beast head-on. It was more than survival, it was a reckoning. Man and tiger clashed as equals. In a duel, only one would survive. The battle left ruin. Soldiers dead, blood on the earth, screams swallowed by the night. Yet Boone's eyes still burned with greed. And when the treasures of the lost city shimmered in the moonlight, he raised his weapon, not at the jungle, but at Mowgli. "If you won't give me the gold, I'll take Catherine from you." In that moment, the greatest threat was not beast nor curse, but the cruelty of the human heart. The rain poured over the ruins, turning the ground to mud and blood. In the heart of the lost city, Mowgli and Boone faced off, not for gold nor for Catherine, but for the supremacy of two worlds. "You'll never be more than an animal," Boone roared, sword in hand. Mowgli fought with the speed of the wolves, the strength of the bear, the courage of the jungle itself. Each strike was nature against greed, freedom against domination. And in the decisive moment, as Boone raised his blade for the killing blow, Mowgli seized him with the fury of the forest. The sword fell. Silence swallowed the ruins. The jungle had chosen its true king. Mowgli stood not as man or beast, but as both, flesh and blood of the jungle. Boone's body lay broken. Shere Khan's roar faded into the night. Rain eased, as if the jungle itself declared the judgment complete. Catherine rushed to him, tears streaming. "Come with me. You don't have to live alone. You can have a life among men. You can have me." Mowgli held her hand gently, torn between love and the call of the wild. "I am not only man. I am not only beast. I am of the jungle. And the jungle is of me." With one last look, he walked into the forest. Catherine remained, knowing she could never follow. He did not belong to her world, perhaps not to any world. Among ancient trees and the songs of animals, a legend was born, the last wild king. A man who carried the heart of the jungle, forever torn between two worlds, but belonging only to the black jungle.